My name is Dr William McVicker and I'm a specialist organ consultant. When I was first contacted, I was told that the chapel was by the architect Bentley. Now Bentley was very interested in pipe organs. He designed lots and lots of organ cases, and his friend was the great English organ builder Thomas Christopher Lewis. They lived quite close to each other in the sort of Clapham area. And I fully expected to come here and find the ruins of a Lewis organ, Thomas Christopher Lewis. Now, when I arrived here, I suddenly saw on the back gallery here the instrument. I'd been told that the organ hadn't worked for a long time. But when I stepped up to the organ itself and opened the music desk here, what did I find? A whole list of stops in French. Well, Thomas Christopher Lewis was decidedly influenced by German organ building in the second half of the 19th century. And I knew immediately that that couldn't be a Lewis organ, although I knew that they'd worked together, Bentley and Lewis, in many occasions. So who was the organ by? And I saw on one of the lists of the stop, here it is, just over here, it says, flûte pyramidale, pyramidal flute. Now, organ stops have got quite normal names such as flute, trumpet, oboe, clarinet. Diapason is one of the most usual names that you find on a stop. But pyramidal flute, flûte pyramidale, is very rare. And I've only ever seen one once. And that was in Notre-Dame de Finistère in Brussels, in the centre of Brussels. And the organ was by Hippolyte Loret. So my suspicions were immediately aroused that it might be a Loret organ, but this was very early days, and when I was first interacting with Alex and told her my excitement about this, I had to keep my options open and put forward a number of other possible Belgian organ builders, but I was almost certain that the organ came from the continent and was probably by Loret. But we needed to find a bit more information, and we were very lucky because Alex came across a gentleman by the name of Monsieur, we think it's pronounced Umbaclou, who is a specialist in the organs of Loret. And he had been to Rome and been moseying around in the archive and managed to produce a certain amount of information, including a list of organs that Loret built. Now, you have to understand that in the 19th century, before billboard advertising, organ builders would make what they would call a circular, which would be a document which listed all the organs that they'd made, and they would post them out to new churches being constructed, because don't forget the 19th century was a time of massive urban population expansion. New churches were going up everywhere, and they would post these off to prospective clients in the hope that they might decide to have a Loret organ, or indeed a Lewis organ. And so Monsieur Umbaclou thought he'd found or had found one of these documents, and it lists the organ in the convent in Paris, in the house in Paris. So with the help of his expertise, we managed to glue all of these jigsaw pieces together, put them together to establish that this organ indeed came from the house in Paris and was shipped here in 1904. Well, what does pyramidal flute mean, for a starter? And I managed to get some photographs of the interior of the organ here. And individual organ pipes have got different shapes. Some of them are just plain cylindrical. Some of them are square because they're wooden. Some of them are inverted conical shapes. This particular stop has got little chimneys on the top. And the highest notes of the organ, the top of the treble register, the flutes are in the shape of little pyramids without a top on them. We would just call them conical pipes. But to put the name of that on the stop really kind of narrows down who it might have been. But in any case, all of the names of the stops, if there is an English organ, they would be called diapason, open diapason. And here is one stop, and it says Montre, which is a French name for the equivalent of a diapason stop. We would call the principal forefoot stop a principal. Here it's called Preston. So we know that this is definitely an organ from a French manufacture. But we also know that Loret began building organs in Belgium and migrated to Paris to build organs there. Well, I think maybe career defining is a bit of an exaggeration. I may have been so excited at the time that I used that language, but it was certainly a defining moment for me, because I've never come across a Loret organ in England. I see, you know, maybe 5 organs a week by different manufacturers up and down the country. This is the only organ by Loret that's in the country. That makes it very rare for us. And I think that will play into the hands of potential fundraising, that it's an opportunity to restore an organ which really has deep connectivity with the society and the order from its days in Paris, and was brought here. It would have been very exciting to be an English organ builder in 1904 and told to go to Paris and ship out an organ to bring it back to Hammersmith. How exciting would that be?